Greetings, novitiate, and know first a reassurance. Mankar Camoran was once like you, asleep, unwise, protonymic. We mortals leave the dreaming sleeve of birth the same, unmantled save for the symbiosis with our mothers, thus to practice and thus to reproachment, until finally we might through new eyes leave our halves, without need or fear that she remains behind. In this moment we destroy her forever and enter the domain of Lord Dagon. They say that in extremely rare cases, a mortal may be born blessed with the blood and soul of a dragon by Akatosh, the father of dragons and chief of the divines. Dragonborn these mortals are called. Some mortals may live and die without ever knowing of their gifts, while others may feel the weight of the prophecy upon their shoulders. This pressure is not a light burden, but those with the dragon blood are not divine puppets. They have free will and can defy their divinations. What happens when a mortal is born with immense power and potential, but also has a score to settle? What if this mortal is the last remnant of a once glorious race? A race utterly destroyed by men, by the very people who initiated a sacred covenant with Akatosh the dragon god. Could the mortal's profound potential be corrupted and used for evil? Hey guys, it's Drew here and welcome back to FudgeMuppet. Now, if you would please break out your Colovian tinfoil hats, we have quite the topic to discuss today. Don't be put off by the introduction, because all will be explained in detail as we get into it. The subject of today's video is an obscure one. You need only read a line from his commentaries to see just how cryptic and ambiguous his motives are. Behold Mankar Camoran, the leader of the Mythic Dawn cult, the orchestrator of Dagon's grand revolution. Be warned, you will need your tinfoil hats handy, as we will be delving into some serious conspiracy theories that make flat Earth seem plausible. But we will also tackle all of the well-established lore, which means you can decide for yourselves whether or not to believe the conspiracies. But with that said, let's get started. And as befits this character, even his parentage isn't certain. This Mer's story is about as transparent as the seas of the Deadlands. Now unfortunately, despite becoming acquainted with Mankar during the Oblivion crisis, it's fair to say that there were more pressing matters at hand, preventing us from asking about the cult leader's childhood. As a result, we have one questionable source to draw from, a book titled The Refugees by Geros Aubrey. This book tells the story of civilians caught up in the chaos of the Camoran invasion. From this source, we learn that the Camoran usurper, Hayman Camoran, had an illegitimate son shortly before his death. Hayman's ambition was insatiable, and he nearly succeeded in conquering the entire western half of Tamriel. So why would we question this origin story for Mankar? After all, he even identifies with the Camoran surname throughout his life. Well, if you saw the low-effort meme I made on Twitter, you'll know exactly why I have my doubts, and we'll elaborate on these doubts throughout the video. But the first, most glaring contradiction comes just from looking at him. Despite having two Bosmer parents, the Mankar we meet during the crisis is closer to an Ultima, and for an Ultima he is quite tanned, a skin tone which would usually signify Ayleid descent. But as I said, we'll save the speculation for a little later, as this conspiracy goes much deeper. Aside from the fact that Mankar is the father to two children, Raven and Ruma Camoran, we know scarce little about him prior to the 433rd year of the Fourth Era, when his scheme came to fruition. He founded the Mythic Dawn cult and wrote his Mythic Dawn commentaries sometime prior to this year. While they may be excruciatingly difficult to decipher, these commentaries tell us all about Mankar's plans. He welcomes new initiates of the cult and speaks of his initial indoctrination. My own summons came through a book Lord Dagon wrote himself in the deserts of rust and wounds. Its name is the Mysterium xarxes, Ald Muratada aggregate, forefather to the wife of all enigma. Each word is razor-fed and secret, thinner than cataclysms, tarnished like red drink. In other words, Mehrunes Dagon gifted Mankar Camoran with the Mysterium xarxes, and after studying the Daedric artifact, becoming inspired by the prophecies and promises held within, Mankar founded the cult, and used the book's power to create his own paradise, a realm named Gaia Alata, where deceased members of the cult would go after death. I mentioned Mankar's Ayleid skin tone earlier, and of course, that fact alone doesn't confirm his true heritage. But it is rather coincidental that Mankar Camoran's idea of paradise is an Ayleid city untouched by the heretical hands of men. As his verbose verses continue, Mankar talks about the effect Dagon's mysteries had on him. He says, "Roaring I wandered until I grew hoarse with the gospel. I had read the mysteries of Lord Dagon and feeling anew went mad with the overflow. My words found no purchase until I became hidden. When my voice returned, it spoke with another tongue. After 3 nights I could speak fire." It's quite easy to find countless connotations within his words. He writes with such peculiar prose that speaking fire could just be his way of telling us he learned to spit bars. But I can't help but take it literally. It isn't unprecedented for mortals to speak fire, and we see this firsthand through the last dragonborn upon learning the fire breath dragon shout. And this is where we get into the Mankar Camoran dragonborn theory. I won't dwell on this for long, because Scott sums it up nicely in an existing video. You can find that linked below in the description. But not only does he make this assertion about his newfound abilities, he also wears the Amulet of Kings. At the commencement of the Oblivion crisis, Mankar Camoran ordered his Mythic Dawn followers to assassinate Emperor Uriel Septim VII. They were successful in the plot, yet the Amulet of Kings escaped their grasp. The cult later stole the amulet from the Blades. With the amulet in Mankar's possession, the Septim line seemingly ended, and the dragon fires extinguished. Dagon was ready now to cross the barrier to Mundus. It is well known that the Amulet of Kings can only be worn by a mortal possessing dragon blood. For anyone else, it will simply slip from their neck. Yet Mankar Camoran wears it without any issue. Unless a mortal finds a way to communicate with Akatosh directly, we'll never know the truth to this claim. Either way, Mankar Camoran chose Mehrunes Dagon over Akatosh. As documented in the Mythic Dawn commentaries, and as shown by the events of the Oblivion crisis, the next step of Mankar Camoran's plan was simple: unleash Dagon and his Daedra hordes on Tamriel. We know from hindsight that this plan failed. The champion of Cyrodiil infiltrated Mankar's paradise, killing him and reclaiming the Amulet of Kings. Then the illegitimate heir to the Septim dynasty, Martin Septim, thwarted Dagon by shattering the amulet, summoning an avatar of Akatosh in the form of a dragon of molten gold. But the simplicity of Mankar Camoran's ambitions doesn't add up to me. The mysterium xarxes clearly inspired Mankar to serve Mehrunes Dagon, but surely there was more in it for him. Mankar's alleged father, Haemon Camoran's ambition was legendary. He ruled Valenwood, but spread his influence as far as High Rock. And this is where we tread into conspiratorial territory, and I can't emphasise enough that what comes next requires enough tinfoil to make a suit of tinfoil plate armour. To proceed, we must turn our attention back to my Twitter meme commentaries, where an underqualified Daedrologist claims that Mankar Camoran was more than just a lowly Daedra-worshipping Bosmer. Mankar Camoran was much more ambitious than that. He plotted to avenge a once prosperous race, a race destroyed by men who now rule from a tower built by that dead race. Mankar Camoran was an Ayleid, and he believed that the White Gold Tower, the seat of the Cyrodiilic Empire, belonged to him and his people. We have the Ayleid skin tone and the custom-made paradise, designed to be an Ayleid's dream realm, but we also have much more to support our claim. When the Ayleids were crushed by Saint Alicia and her rebels, only glorified servants survived. Some noble Ayleids maintained control over their citadels, acting as client kingdoms to Elysian Cyrodiil. But this did not last long, and knowing they had no chance of survival should they resist the might of the Empire, the remaining Ayleids simply left, abandoning their kingdoms. They headed southwest to the lands of Valenwood and Somerset, or northwest to the Doreni-controlled regions of High Rock. From here, it is speculated that many of the remaining Ayleids sought indirect revenge by offering their skills and services to rivals of the Empire. And I believe this is what Mankar Camoran's ancestors did. They integrated into Valenwood or Somerset, attempting to keep their racial heritage as pure as possible. Most of the Ayleid migration lost hope for their race, or simply submitted to their gradual assimilation. But when a child with the dragon blood was born centuries later, one with Ayleid ancestry, and potentially a father with unrivaled ambition, this child was destined to make his mark on the realm. I believe Mankar Camoran could have convened with the Thalmor, as his goals align with theirs in many ways. When the Oblivion crisis began, it was men who suffered the most, specifically in the heartland of Cyrodiil. A routed empire not only makes sense from a vengeful Ayleid's perspective, but also from the perspective of the Thalmor, who have been plotting the downfall of the Cyrodiilic Empire for as long as they've existed. And to take it a step further, have you heard the conspiracy theory involving the deconstruction of the Towers of Creation? If not, I highly recommend watching our recent video on the Thalmor secret plan. We've linked it in the description for you. But in a nutshell, there are 8 towers, and it is believed that their purpose is to hold the mortal realm together. There's the Adamantine Tower of the Doreni, the Red Tower, aka Red Mountain, the Crystal Tower in Somerset, the Throat of the World in Skyrim, the Green Sap, a Grat Oak in Valenwood, the Orichalk Tower of Hammerfell, the Brass Tower, aka the Numidium, and finally there's the White Gold Tower. The Aldmeri Dominion believe that destroying all of these towers will uncreate Mundus, and allow them to return to their eternal ancestral home among the Aedra of Aetherius. And how does this connect to Mankar Camoran? Well, let's read the first letter of every paragraph in the Mythic Dawn commentaries to find the hidden message. Green Emperor, Way Where, Tower Touches, Midday Sun. Green Emperor Way, that's the name of the park in the centre of the Imperial City, and it is here in the centre of Green Emperor Way that the White Gold Tower thrusts skyward, touching the midday sun. This ambitious Mer has his paradise in Oblivion, but I don't think that's enough for him. Mankar Camoran wants the descendants of Alesia wiped from the heartland of Tamriel, and once Mehrunes Dagon had conquered the realm, he hoped to reclaim his ancestral homeland, with the mighty White Gold Tower, which was constructed by his people to serve as an eternal reminder of their glory, as his prize. But you be the judge. Maybe Mankar Camoran was just the illegitimate son of a Bosmer warlord. Maybe he stumbled across the teachings of Mehrunes Dagon and grew fanatical with the promise of revolution and chaos. Or perhaps there were ulterior motives working beneath the surface, a grand plot of vengeance that was centuries in the making. Whatever the truth may be, Mankar Camoran was a fascinating character, and I can't help but wish he'd survived the crisis. With his defeat, it seems that any hope of the Ayleid's race's survival has been snuffed out once and for all. And there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, thanks so much for watching. My name is Drew, and I'll see you in the next one.